This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 82nd time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Reviewing Network Live on this last Sunday of March. We're just a couple days away from the start of the new year, and, yeah, it is what it is. It's another one of those weeks where we have a lot of stories to cover here from all across the movie world, the world of television, so on and so forth, and a very interesting box office, to say the least, with a couple of notable things in here that we'll get to, but let's just jump right into it right now, because box office right now is very much struggling as we come to the end of the first quarter of the year, where we've not had that many big blockbuster hits. I think the biggest hits we've had were Captain America: Brave New World and Dogman. Everything else has not done very well, box office-wise. Not to say that the movies have been bad or anything, but just people aren't just going out to the movies anymore, sadly. But this weekend we do have 5 new releases in the top 10, 4 of which are in the top 5. So let's just jump on into it. Let's start off with number 5 this week, which is Death of a Unicorn, which is the new fantasy horror comedy starring Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd. I actually just saw the trailer for this just a couple weeks ago, but you have Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega starring as a father-daughter duo who hit a unicorn with their car and bring it to the wilderness retreat of a mega-wealthy pharmaceutical CEO, played by Richard E. Grant. You also have a cast that includes Will Poulter, Téa Leoni, Anthony Carrigan, and didn't do so badly with critics overall. I mean, it got mostly mixed reviews, 55%. Has a B- on Cinema Score, not really a whole lot in general, and didn't really do a whole lot in particular. Brought in $5.8 million this weekend, $5,787,425, which isn't that great overall, but it has a small budget of $15 million, so it should be able to make its money back when it's all said and done. But the worldwide numbers haven't officially come in yet. There hasn't been any international releases for it yet, so anyway, yeah, a movie that I didn't really know too much about until just a couple weeks ago when I first saw the trailer for it, so there you go. But here's a movie I did know a lot about, which is pretty interesting, pretty interesting, but number 4 on the list is The Woman in the Yard, the latest film from Jamie Colette Serra, who also did Jungle Cruise, and also Liam Neeson's movies Non-Stop and Unknown. This is, of course, the Jason Blum-produced horror film in which you have a woman, played by Danielle Deadwyler, who is being haunted by this mysterious woman in a black cloak appearing in her family's front yard and, trying to basically kill them, I guess. I mean, I didn't see the movie, but brought in $9.4 million this weekend, bringing like it's a brand new. I'm tired right now, man. That's why I'm kind of off it right now, but did not get a whole lot of sleep last night, but anyway, $9.5 million, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but considering that this is a Blumhouse movie and it is relatively cheap to produce, 9 times out of 10 it's going to make its money back, and sure enough, this cost $12 million to make, so yeah, they're all ready to go to make a profit on this, so it should not take too long at all for this to make money overall. But speaking of things that don't cost a whole lot to make, but still make a lot of money even though they don't get promoted as much as the other movies do, The Chosen, The Last Supper, is the number 3 movie this week, which is the re-release of the latest episodes of the Angel Studios show The Chosen. Fathom Entertainment puts this out, and it's bringing people in again. $11.5 million. Have not seen one single episode of the show, so I cannot really say if it's any good or not, but I digress. So that's that one there. Now let's get to the most interesting portion of our box office here, and interesting, not for the best way for Disney. Number 2 is the number 1 movie from last week, which is Snow White, which dropped 66% from last week to bring in only $14.2 million, bringing its 2-week total to $66.8 million. Worldwide, if you take in that, it's closing in on $150 million right now, but this thing cost $250 million. So, yeah, this thing is cooked. I mean, this was pretty much its last weekend to do something. And because, of course, next week, Minecraft's going to be the big thing, which I don't know. I don't know about that one, but I'm just saying that's probably going to make more money than Snow White did. But, I mean, it's a shame because the movie isn't terrible. And I'm going to talk about Rachel Zegler in just a little bit here because I feel like she is getting so much hatred for nothing, really. I mean, everyone's putting the blame on this movie on her. Blame Disney for making a pointless live-action remake and putting $250 million to it and knowing that you're never going to make this money back. Even if the movie turns out to be great, anything over $200 million is going to be extremely hard to make your money back on. So, plus, Rachel Zegler is far, far from the problems with the movie's success at the box office. Don't let anybody ever tell you that. But again, I'll save that for the very end here. But with that said, let's go ahead and get to the number 1 movie. The movie that really kind of came out of nowhere to do very well. Number 1 this week, Jason Statham's latest film, A Working Man, which, yeah, I did not expect this film to do as well as it did. I mean, I didn't think it had the same traction as The Beekeeper did, but I think this actually just... I was about to say, it probably did better than The Beekeeper, but I think Beekeeper opened to like 17 million, if I'm not mistaken, but... Working Man opened pretty good, $15.2 million. If you account the worldwide totals, it's already doubled that with $30 million. This thing only cost $40 million to make, so it's another hit for Jason Statham and David Ayer. Sylvester Stallone also wrote the script for this movie, which is based off of a book by Chuck Dixon. Trailers didn't really look all that interesting to me. It just kind of looked like another revenge movie, like another Death Wish movie, where the story here is that you have Jason Statham as this guy who leaves his profession behind to work construction and be a good dad to his daughter, but when a local goal vanishes, he's asked to return the skills that made him a mythic figure in the shadowy world of counterterrorism. When I watched the trailers for this, I just thought it looked a little bit too serious for its own good. Like, the Beekeeper worked because it knew it had a silly premise overall, and it made it work because the action was so good. Then watching this trailer for this, nothing about this movie really made it unique or stand out compared to The Beekeeper. I mean, it just looked like a standard revenge film, and I guess people bought into it. I guess there was an audience out there for it. I mean, it did very well. On CinemaScore, it's got a B, and the reviews for it were kind of mixed. 52% overall on Rotten Tomatoes, 55 out of 100 on Metacritic. So it isn't getting the best traction overall. I just think it's just a slow period for movies in general, and there's just nothing really out there that's bringing a lot of people into the theaters, and then like next week is when you start to see the things start to pick up here, because as I said, we got the Minecraft movie, which will probably do very well. And then after that, you've got The Amateur, which they're starting to promote more. Warfare, the new film from Alex Garland, who Drop has been getting a lot of good word of mouth. And then you've got the Michael B. Jordan movie Sinners in mid-April on Easter weekend. And then at the end of the month, you've got Until Dawn. And then, of course, we jump into the summer movie season next month with Thunderbolts on May 2nd. So the box office, regardless of what happens here, is going to get better as time goes on. And so that's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out here. But it should be much better than the first quarter of this year overall, which has not been bad. There has been a lot of good movies out there. A lot of entertaining movies, I should say. Like Captain America Brave New World was an entertaining movie. Dogman was a good movie. I liked Snow White. I like One of Them Days, Paddington in Peru, Mickey 17. I've heard a lot of great things about The Monkey and Hard Eyes and Companion. There has been a lot of good stuff out there, but just nobody's going out to the theaters for some reason. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. But, so there you go. That's a quick look at the weekend box office as a whole. I want to get to the subject of Snow White because the leading actress is getting unfairly just destroyed for no reason whatsoever, except the fact that it's her in the title role here. So put the blame on her. So I wanted to bring this up here because, you know, Snow White can now be kind of officially considered a bomb overall, especially after this weekend. When you drop 66% on a weekend when there's no other family films out there, I mean, it's just unfortunate that the movie flopped overall, and just maybe it'll be the sign that Disney should just get out of the live action remake game in general. Like, give us more stuff that we want to see. But then again, I don't know if that's going to happen overall. But what I want to bring up here is just something that really bugged me this week. In fact, there's this whole controversy going on with Rachel Zegler, not because of anything she said recently, but because there are just so many people out there just throwing throwing all this unnecessary shit at her for really absolutely nothing. Like, there's literally nothing that she did new this week that we didn't already know of, that was even stupid to begin with, but nope, we're going to do it anyway, because this week, Snow White was officially named the worst movie of all time on IMDb, because it's got a 1.6 out of 10 on the fan reviews here, and apparently that's everything that even though that basically is just people, is that IMDb's star system on there is basically just people online just hate clicking on that just to get it down to that point. So yeah, you can avoid that BS. But number two, the hit pieces that came out this week against her, like Variety in particular, like, it was so bad to see this happen. And this is not the first time that Variety has had a hit piece out there that essentially just went after somebody because, oh, how dare you say these things that we want to believe, that we want you to believe that we really do believe in. And no, they don't, because they did the same thing to Melissa Barrera. They did the same thing to Blake Lively. They did the same thing to Amber Heard. They did all these hit pieces to make you think that the people that they are covering are total monsters, and they just tore into Rachel Zegler for no reason whatsoever. And this was written by somebody who clearly has a major problem with her for reasons that are beyond me. Basically, like, if it's any indication, I would not be shocked at all if the person that wrote these is probably somebody who's a Trump supporter, because, of course, one of the big controversies that she's had is that, you know, Rachel Zegler basically said, you know, fuck Donald Trump, which, again, who hasn't want to say that, honestly? But I mean, there's no reason why you should not be going. There's a lot of reasons why you should not be going after her because of that, but like, the hit piece they had on her was just, it's literally a hit piece. Like, it's a blatant, you know, we're going to do everything to make this woman look like a monster. Meanwhile, Variety, on the other hand, do you notice how Gal Gadot has been relatively quiet since then, and all the focus has been on Rachel Zegler and not Gal Gadot, even though Gal Gadot clearly has more that would be so against what most people think of them in general. But no, not at Variety, not when you had this hit piece that go out about your co-star. But the week before that, you had this massive event for her getting the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I mean, I'm not kidding around. Like, Variety had this big thing where they essentially went out. They basically made it an event when it really was not. It was just nothing but a PR move by them. And it's just like, at that point, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm done with Variety. I've officially declared myself never going back to Variety to cover news stories, because this is getting ridiculous. I mean, it's getting ridiculous that they went all out to promote that everything Gal Gadot was doing, but then to immediately go back to taking down the main star of the movie for no reason whatsoever. Like, oh, I'm sorry, she said Free Palestine on social media and she refuses to take it down. Okay, so what? Like, really, who gives a crap? Like, I'm sorry. I know that this is a big thing going on right now, but there are people that just don't care about what's going on in Israel and Palestine. Not to say that it's not to say that you shouldn't be feeling the same way either. If you want to be on that, that's fine with me. But just, I don't care about that. I have more important things in my life to deal with, in my personal life to deal with, than have to deal with what's going on over in Israel and Palestine. I mean, like, this is something that you just can't, there's nothing you can really do about it at this point. If you're sitting up home on your computer, it's just like, yeah, like, you don't like it, that's fine. You know, there's a great thing on these social media platforms called the mute button and the block button, so you don't have to worry about that. But no, you don't want to do that because you want to bitch and moan. You're like the Joker in The Dark Knight. You don't want anything logical. You just want to watch the world burn. But but going back to Rachel Zegler, everybody's been just going after her for stupid reasons that are beyond me. You know, what has she really done wrong to warrant this hatred? Oh, she got a leading star in a movie where, you know, she's the first Disney print. She's playing the Snow White, and it's just like, well, it didn't do well, so let's just go ahead and completely tarnish and ruin her career. And yeah, and you can tell how that's failing miserably, because if you go online, you see that there are more people in support of Rachel Zegler and less of the support of what Disney and Variety are doing, because Disney isn't helping either, especially when Mark Platt came out on went after Rachel Zegler too. That was another story that broke this week about how, you know, the Platt family got on her because, you know, she thought that the movie was being hurt because, oh, how dare you ruin this movie with your politics and all that type of stuff. And it's just like, again, Gal Gadot has done more with more political posts and all that than anything Rachel Zegler does. I mean, this is just, it's getting so ridiculous. This is so unbelievably stupid that everything that we're doing all this, and it's just, I'm glad that Vanity Fair did an article basically contrasting everything to Variety and the Hollywood Reporter too, because the Hollywood Reporter is doing it too, because they were the one that first put the story about how Mark Platt's son basically went out to threaten Rachel Zegler in a way, but Vanity Fair did have a pretty good article about how, you know, this is Snow White's failure has turned Rachel Zegler into a scapegoat and an icon, and it says on the subtitle here, Disney's insiders are blaming the young actress for the film's poison box office, but their plan is backfiring. Gee, you think so? Because, yeah, like, you can't just blame the star of the movie because of 2 tweets she wrote, when you have other people that is like, you want to have your cake and eat it too, and this has been Disney's problem all the way to the very beginning. Remember when they fired James Gunn from doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of tweets that they knew about, and everyone just said, hey, just so you know, had to turn the fan on here because it's warm out. It's actually warm out in this room here, but I also dropped some pens, so that's why I kind of paused there. But anyway, back to what I was saying. There were these tweets that James Gunn put out that Disney already knew about when they hired him back in 2012, and then when they were working on Guardians of the Galaxy 3, somebody said, oh, by the way, did you see these tweets are out there? And Disney was just like, oh my god, how did we not know this before? And everyone was like, you did when you hired him. So they fired him, they tried to get somebody to come in, and nobody wanted to do it, and so James Gunn was then hired back to do Guardians 3. Thanks for wasting your time on that. And not only that, remember the torture they put on Kelly Marie Tran for Star Wars The Last Jedi? Remember Haley Bailey got a lot of flack because The Little Mermaid was black, and, you know, black mermaids don't exist, which mermaids don't exist in real life. It does not matter. But not only that, there was another person that got thrashed by Disney. Who else was it? Oh, Iman Vellani for the Marvels. They tried to blame her for the reason why the Marvels failed at the box office and was not a big hit, which, again, every single one of those names I mentioned was completely against what was completely further from the truth. That those movies were not flops because they were the leads in those movies in general, like that. But back to this Vanity Fair article, I really do like that Vanity Fair basically came out and said that, yeah, they're not afraid to say that Disney is basically putting a campaign out there to kill this woman's career, which she has not done anything wrong here. I mean, I've got a bit from the paragraph here, and this makes a good point here. It says, on Blue Sky, journalist Mark Harris describes Siegel's story, the Siegel being, which Siegel is this? Tatiana Siegel. Tatiana Siegel is the one who wrote the hit piece on Variety, but Blue Sky journalist Mark Harris described Tatiana Siegel's story as a hit job and accusing Disney of waging a campaign to blame Snow White's failure squarely on Zegler's shoulders. It is very clearly an attempt to blame the movie's failure on her express politics. It's astonishingly graceless, and it's not honest. By Thursday morning, over 50 other journalists had signed an open letter to Variety strongly condemning Siegel's article. Vanity Fair has reached out to Siegel as well as Zegler for comment. It's not just a group of people, one certain people, but it's a lot of people who are going against this hit piece. But good old Variety is the one that's looking at this and going, we stand by our excellent reporter Tatiana Siegel and her detailed and well-sourced reporting about what happened behind the scenes of the film. And it also says Siegel has also been the subject of backlash from pro-Israel supporters for her reporting of Hollywood's response to the war in Gaza. So clearly, that's another reason why I'm never going back to Variety, because Variety has people who clearly don't care about reporting news. They want clout. They want clout and clickbait and all that type of stuff, and it's just really ridiculous, man. And, here's the thing. I'm defending Rachel Zegler because the woman does not deserve to be criticized. I mean, she has been a damn good actress ever since she came into Hollywood. I mean, West Side Story was great. She got a big job. She got the big roles in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, where she was one of the best things about that movie. And the Hunger Games Battle of Songbirds and Snakes. And, she has been very good at not letting this ruin her, not letting this get in her way. When they were doing the premiere and all that, they had her out in the Snow White dress, and they had these little kids, and everyone thought she was actually Snow White, which was a lot very good to see. She was in a theater where she was watching the movie, and she got excited seeing her name up on the lights there, and of course social media took that to say, well, gee, it looks like it's an empty theater. Yeah, because Rachel Zegler probably bought that theater for her family and friends to go see the movie in. It's just everything that everything that they do here is just basically trying to destroy this woman's career for no reason whatsoever. And supposedly, I mean, she's not. It doesn't look like she's getting back into Hollywood anytime soon, because it says here in the article she's getting ready to do a West End production of Evita, which will be coming out pretty soon. But I really do not hope I really hope we have not seen the last of this woman on the big screen because of this. I mean, I really hope that Hollywood does not blacklist her for the stupidest reason possible. There's one other thing I want to get to here, because I saw this on a social media yesterday, and this was really ridiculous what they did here. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I couldn't find it. There was a picture that somebody put on Twitter, and it was a freelance animator who basically just. They drew this picture of the original Disney Snow White from the 1937 movie beheading Rachel Zegler for reasons that are beyond anybody's comprehension. Because just why? And I'm guessing somebody took it. I'm guessing the guy took it down because he was getting so much backlash for it. Because a lot of people got on him for that, and rightfully so, because it just makes no sense whatsoever. I just want people to realize what they're getting so pissed off about. You're getting upset about a movie based off of the original Disney classic from 1937 that, truth be told, is dated. It's a very dated movie. Yes, it has its place, its history as the first animated feature of all time, but don't sit there and pretend like you all of a sudden give a crap about it because of what this new remake did. It's a stupid controversy because it's not made for adults. It's not made for me. It's made for kids. And, the original Snow White ain't going anywhere. It's still going to be available to buy on DVD and Blu-ray and 4K and streaming on Disney+. You can get it wherever you want to. It's never going to be taken away from you, no matter how hard you want to pretend like it is. And just stop doing this to promising people who don't agree with what your crazy ideas are, or your stupid I'm triggered motivations. Just stop it. Just fucking stop it already, because it's getting so ridiculous and so stupid, and just this is the reason why the world is so screwed up, because idiots like these people out there who thrive on this whole thing and want nothing more than to see innocent people get completely dismantled and destroyed by something. Just, it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening, and I really hope Rachel Zegler does not leave Hollywood because of this. I really hope that this does not mean that she's not wanted here and she gets put on a blacklist and all that type of stuff. Just like, I really hope that does not happen here. But it's just such a damn shame how society as a whole is completely crumbled down, and how stupid people can be on social media sometimes. The internet was a mistake. The internet really was a mistake overall, and it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable how screwed up the world is, and not just for the reasons that you think it is, but because of people like the idiots that are going after the star of Snow White, because heaven forbid that she had to come out and say something that many other people have said, but because she's leading the movie, we're going to use that as an excuse to explain why the movie failed at the box office. I'm getting off the subject here because, yeah, this is getting too long, and I'm kind of rambling right now. Not to say that I've been rambling before, but anyway, that being said, let's get back to more positive news stories, because we have some news stories this week. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story we have here. The first of the news stories we have this week, which was one of the big stories that broke first thing this week. And that is that, yes, the rumors are true. Amy Pascal and David Heyman are now the new official producers of the James Bond movie franchise for Amazon MGM. As the Hollywood Reporter has here, it's official the James Bond franchise has found its producers in Amy Pascal and David Heyman. The duo have been tapped by Amazon MGM to steer the new Bond film, the first to be produced by someone outside the Broccoli family. Pascal will produce the film via Pascal Pictures, and Heyman producing through Heyday Films. It wasn't made immediately clear that it would be producing Bond titles beyond the next film, which I'm assuming it's going to be that way, but the selection comes after Amazon MGM closed a deal with Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the producers whose family had been producing 007 movies since the 1960s, to take over creative control of the Bond franchise. In today's announcement, which was on Monday, Amazon MGM highlighted both Pascal and Heyman's track record in franchise filmmaking. Pascal is behind the Spider-Man franchise, which the Tom Holland-fronted films grossed over $3 billion at the global box office, while Heyman shepherded the Harry Potter franchise, including the spin-off series Fantastic Beasts, to commercial heights. Now, what's interesting about this is that as soon as this broke, as a couple days after this broke, there was another story about a shakeup going on at MGM, with the fact that one of their heads decided to go ahead, was fired, and that's Jennifer Salk. I got it right here. Jennifer Salk was not fired. She stepped down as the head of Amazon MGM, and again, they blamed her. They're supposedly blaming her because of why the Broccolis didn't re-up with MGM on James Bond and all that type of stuff. There was a whole thing on that too, but yeah, the announcement was made in an internal email to staff by Prime Video and Amazon MGM studio head Mike Hopkins. She's exiting the company with plans to start a production outfit that already has an overall first look deal across both film and TV at the studio. Amazon MGM will not be replacing Salk, instead having her head of film Courtney Valenti and head of TV Vernon Sanders handle their separate arms, both reporting into Hoskins. So there you go. Basically, a lot of shakeups going on in Amazon MGM, and we'll see how far we go if we actually get Bond news pretty soon. I'm pretty sure we're not going to get it this week at CinemaCon, which, of course, the week I have Steel City Con this week, and I'm expecting a nice, slow week of stuff to talk about. CinemaCon comes our way with trailers probably being announced, big movie announcements coming, so don't be surprised if we have a normal-sized show after me being completely tired and worked to the bone after Steel City Con next week. But anyway, that's that story, so let's go ahead and move on to the next story we have here, which is about the new Avengers movie. So this week we got a big announcement about who's joining the new Avengers movie, and this was a pretty big deal. It was announced on Tuesday that there was going to be a secret announcement for how they're going to announce a secret announcement for something, and nobody really knew what it was going to be. Some people thought it was going to be maybe Spider-Man news, maybe news of the new X-Men movie, maybe news on Blade potentially getting canceled, which reportedly is what's happening, which wouldn't really surprise me considering how long it's taken them to make the movie. But no, The announcement was the fact that they were announcing the cast of Avengers Doomsday, and we got some pretty big casting news in here, and the biggest one of all is the fact that a lot of the people from 20th Century Fox's X-Men run are coming back for this, including Patrick Stewart as Xavier, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler, Rebecca Romijn as Mystique, James Marsden as Cyclops, and Kelsey Grammer as Beast, which that was the one that made me go like, oh, okay, I'm liking this a lot. But then Channing Tatum's going to be Gambit in a movie, for reals, after we saw him in Deadpool and Wolverine, after they had talked about doing a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum in it. He's finally going to get to do it in an MCU movie. But then the other casting news was stuff we kind of already knew about. The Fantastic Four, the guys from the Fantastic Four are going to be there. Chris Hemsworth's back as Thor, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier, Letitia Wright as Shuri, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, Wyatt Russell as John Walker, Tino Horeta Mija as Namor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Florence Pugh, Louis Pullman, Danny Moreira, David Harbour, and then at the end of I'm getting ahead of myself here, but now they could have just easily just announced the casting and then we'd be done with it. You know, everything's all good. Everything's all peachy keen, hunky dory, and all that. But no. We had to go out and Marvel had to go out and do something that is so unbelievably stupid, but absolutely brilliant. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, what they did, it's one of the, if you don't know what they did, on Wednesday, they made these announcements by basically, what they did was that they had all these directing chairs out, and that's how they revealed the casting on who's going to star in Avengers Doomsday. You have all these different chairs with all these different names attached. So they could have just done it like that, but not only did they not do that, they made you wait long periods of time before they revealed the names of who was going to be in this movie. This was like a thing that ran for over 5 hours long. Like, they would have a chair sitting there for like 10 to 20 minutes, sometimes even 30 minutes, and then just out of nowhere, they'll start moving it, showing you the next name, and then you'll hear like music in the background to give you an indication of who it's going to be. And then they kept doing this for 5 hours and 27 minutes, and everyone was wondering, well, what's this building up to here? Like, what are we supposed to get from this? And then the thing ended with Robert Downey Jr. coming out, because of course he's playing Doctor Doom, coming out and basically looking at the camera and telling everybody to go shh. And that's how it ended. That's how they revealed the casting announcement for this. It was a 5 hour, 27 minute thing that they did. And on top of that, like, what made this even more hilarious was the fact that you had people watching this over the course of the day for 5 hours on Wednesday. And then when it was all said and done, guess what Marvel's YouTube page put out? A 1 minute and 48 minute version, a 1 minute 48 second version of what you just had to sit through. Like, no joke, they did the same thing you just spent 5 hours watching. And what they did was just put a 1 minute 46 second trailer together, and it was essentially this. Like even Robert Downey Jr. is just like, man, I can't believe we just did this shit, man. like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that we all bought this and we all were suckered into it. But you know what? Hey, it worked. As Deadline Hollywood had the story that came up not too long after the thing happened, and it just tells you how, yeah, some people may have looked at this as the ultimate troll move by Marvel Studios, but hey, we were all suckered in and we all watched it because, as their story reads, Marvel Studios' clever little 5 hour plus announcement of the cast of Avengers Doomsday was their biggest live stream, bigger than any premiere red carpet, pulling in 275 million digital views, we're told, and 3.1 million social mentions. The live stream began at 8 a.m. and lasted for 5 hours and 27 minutes. That number is also more than 5 times the social volume of the Deadpool and Wolverine Super Bowl trailer, currently the most viewed trailer of all time from last year. More deets, I'm told, hour over hour, the audience grew to what is the most viewed cross-platform livestream stunt. The stunt yielded over 55 district trending terms on Twitter X throughout the day, with Avengers Doomsday hashtags holding the #1 trending spot for over 7 hours. After 24 hours, the official Marvel YouTube livestream was on #2 on trending. So yeah, this was unbelievable how we were suckered into this. And the funny thing is, this probably is not the last bit of casting we'll see from this, because as we later found out, Marvel Studios and Robert Downey Jr. were basically teasing that there's going to be more casting in here. So if you're wondering, where's Doctor Strange? Where's the Star-Lord? Where's all the other? Where's Captain Marvel? Where's all these other people that we're supposed to see here? It's just like, hey, don't forget, there's still another movie coming with Avengers Secret Wars, so they could be savoring this up for Comic-Con to reveal the entire cast overall. And I mean, Robert Downey Jr. on his Instagram was basically like, that's what you call a deep bench of talent. Actually, it's more like a row, but an extra long one. That must be it, right? And then Marvel Studios is just like there's always room for more. Like it's like the scene from Avengers Infinite Endgame at the end, where Doctor Strange is just like, is that everyone? And then Wong's just like, what, do you want more? Like, and I guess and it looks like they're gonna get more coming down the road here. So yeah, this is gonna be a big movie, and especially after the Electric State, the Russo brothers need this thing to be a hit. Like, they need this to work, because my God, this thing was just, because after the Electric State, that's one thing, but then you follow it up with this marketing thing that they did here. Like, again, it's an incredibly stupid idea to do this and completely waste everybody's time, but on the other hand, I've got to commend him on that, man, because that is masterful trolling at its own game. Because what this reminded me of when I was thinking about what was happening here, it reminded me of a lot of what, Andy Kaufman used to do back in his heyday, when he would just have these skits and all that, and nobody really knew what the punchline was going to be, but you kept watching because you were so invested by it. It's like watching Andy Warhol and all of his movies and shorts where, he's basically just completely messing around with the audience in general here. Like, it reminded me of all things, this one short that he did, Andy Warhol did, where he's basically eating a hamburger. And so there's this 5-minute video online where it's just Andy Warhol eating a hamburger from Burger King, and he's got like Heinz ketchup, and it was made into a Super Bowl commercial not too long ago, I think about 6 or 7 years ago, but, like, I've got it right here, so I'll play a little bit of it here so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. This is a video called Andy Warhol Eating a Hamburger, but if you type in Andy Warhol on Burger King, you'll just see it regardless. It could be under Eat Like Andy, but just watch it. Just if you're watching along, watch this. This goes on for 4 minutes. I mean, and he's not saying anything. He's not really doing anything that interesting and all that. Like, you hear him talking a little bit, saying, like, he's holding the Heinz ketchup, and it's just like, it just won't come out. And then like, that's it. That's all he does. He just eats the hamburger, and it's just like, it's so simple. It's so like a waste of your time, but it's really kind of genius when you think about it, because of just how it's just Andy Warhol doing nothing but eating a hamburger. And he would do a lot of these. Like, everyone remembers the 5-hour film that he did, which was, I think it was called Sleep, I think it was, where you're literally sitting there for 5 hours watching this, and it's just, like, nothing really is going on for the most part. Like, it was literally a movie where a guy is just literally sleeping, and it's like nothing but, just this guy sleeping for 5 hours, and literally nothing is going on, and, like, some people would look at that and go, like, wow, I've completely wasted my time on this, and, he would do a lot of these things. Like, he'd have you sit there for a long period of time. Another one he did, like Empire, like the Empire State Building, where it's literally just nothing but you looking at the Empire State Building for the course of an entire movie. This one was like over 8 hours long. Like, he would do these things like these. He would make these experimental movies and all that type of stuff, and it's fascinating to watch at times. And that's what I got the feeling of when I was watching this whole thing taking place. It's just like, yeah, I mean, this whole thing that went on with Marvel was just so interesting and so odd to watch, but you're invested by it because you're wondering, where's this going to go next? What's the next logical move here? And yeah, it was literally just sitting there for 5 hours with these chairs, and I got to give them credit for not only pulling that off, but doing it as well as they did, because yeah, that was something that was impressively trollish. It worked. It made it very interesting to watch, and it was definitely something that yeah, be lucky they got away with it now, because if they try to do this again, then yeah, you're going to get people that are going to be really upset about this, because you can only make this work certain times before it starts getting annoying really quickly. But again, give them a lot of credit for making that work, making that it was stupid, but it worked, and it was very fascinating to watch indeed. So there you go. That's the casting update on Avengers Doomsday. So let's go ahead and move on to the next story we have here. And that is that the Scooby-Doo gang is getting back together in a new live-action series for Netflix. Deadline Hollywood has the story here. And that is that Netflix has given an 8-episode order to a live-action reimagining of Warner Brothers' classic Scooby-Doo cartoon that will track down the origins of the famous mystery-solving teen gang and their beloved dog. The project from Midnight Radio, Berlanti Productions, and Warner Brothers Television landed for development at the streamer in a competitive situation last spring with a premium scripted series commitment. Written by Midnight Radio's Josh Applebaum and Scott Rosenberg, who recently wrote the Cowboy Bebop show, based off of characters created by Hanna-Barbera, the yet untitled Scooby-Doo series crafts an origin story of how the Mystery Inc. gang got together and first teamed up to crack the haunting case that started it all. And, I guess there's more to the plot here. Excuse me. During their final summer at camp, old friends Shaggy and Daphne get embroiled in a haunted mystery surrounded by a lonely, lost Great Dane puppy that may have been a witness to a supernatural murder. Together with the pragmatic and scientific townie Velma and the strange but ever so handsome new kid Freddy, they set out to solve the case that is pulling each of them into a creepy nightmare that threatens to expose all of their secrets. So I guess this is going to be kind of the equivalent to Stranger Things in a way, since Stranger Things is coming to an end, but this makes sense to do a Scooby-Doo live-action show with an origin like this. I mean, they've tried to do it before with some movies in the past, like The Legend Begins and the Curse of the Lake Monster, which were not very good movies, but it's not surprising that they're doing this, and I feel like they could probably make this work overall. I think there is a lot there that could make this kind of fun to watch, but what's the direction they're going to go with here? I'm really curious to see how they're going to stretch this out to 8 episodes, but again, it's something that I think could be done. I think could be done very well. In terms of the Scooby-Doo franchise as a whole, I've liked a couple of them overall. I like the original series. Mystery Incorporated I still think is the best thing to come out of that series in general. I'm not a fan of the live-action movies. I don't like any of the live-action films, honestly. Like, even though, yeah, Matthew Willard's Shaggy, but those movies were never that good to me per se. So, but and I didn't even like the last animated the Scoob movie that came out in 2020. I didn't even think that was all that great. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, this could be very interesting to see how it pans out. But Greg Berlanti has definitely been behind some stuff that's been good, and then stuff that has been not so good. So it'll be very interesting to see how this one turns out overall. So with that said, on to the next story. Let's get to a reboot of an animated series that I am very much looking forward to seeing actually happen. And that is the fact that The Critic could finally be making a comeback after so many years of me saying that this show should come back. It seems like there is a conceded effort from both Jon Lovitz and, of course, the show's co-creator Al Jean to get this project finally going. It first started on social media and Twitter. Both Al Jean and Jon Lovitz on their pages started getting the word out about a potential revival per se. But and then the Hollywood Reporter officially put the story out there that this was in the works. And I've got it right here. And it says here, in an era where adult animation enjoys remarkable popularity and longevity, could another classic, albeit short-lived 1990s animated sitcom make a comeback? Jon Lovitz thinks so. On Friday, the comedian said that he and creator Al Jean are developing a revival of The Critic, the series in which Lovitz played the film critic and coming attractions TV host Jay Sherman. You keep telling me you want it back. I've been trying for years. Well, now, creator Al Jean is on board, Lovitz posted. Despite hailing from a slew of veterans from The Simpsons, including Gene, Mike Reiss, and James L. Brooks, who produced the show via his Gracie Films, the show never achieved Simpsons-level success, only airing 13 episodes over 2 seasons on ABC and later Fox, which was incorrect. That's 23 episodes, 13 on ABC and 10 on Fox. And then, of course, the internet shorts. It frequently parodied the entertainment business, with Sherman reviewing fake films. His catchphrase was, "It stinks," and his boss, Duke Phillips, not so subtly inspired by Ted Turner. Its opening credits, which features a montage of New York City landmarks from the Central Park Zoo and Rockefeller Center skating rink to the Guggenheim Museum and World Trade Center, were among the best of its era. Back in 2025, adult animation is in a Back to the Future moment, as long-canceled shows make comebacks as staples like The Simpsons, South Park, and Family Guy remain stalwarts of their respectable lineups. King of the Hill, the Fox animated series that ran from 1997 until 2010, is set to return with new episodes on Hulu this year. And American Dad, the Seth MacFarlane series, which had been on for 20 years and that had been running on TBS, is set to return to Fox after years in relative cable obscurity. Shows like Futurama and Beavis and Butthead have all been revived as slighter, younger scaled animated shows like Clone High and X-Men the Animated Series, now called X-Men 97. But it may be the return of King of the Hill that should give fans of The Critic optimism. While adult animation has always leaned on the absurd, both The Critic and King of the Hill felt grounded in a way that its peers were not. Sure, The Critic has had its fair share of absurdity. One character was from Easter Island and bore a striking resemblance to a Moai statue, but the New York in which it's set felt real in a way that Springfield or Quahog never did. At a time when streaming services are hungry for fresh yet familiar fare, The Critic streams on Tubi, by the way, and with the entertainment business ripe for parody in a cultural era dominated by TikTok and YouTube, the timing might be perfect to bring back Jay Sherman and his crew of misfits. I've been saying this for years, man. Like, with the way that entertainment has changed in the 30 years since The Critic has been on the air, I mean, this is something that I feel like needs to happen at some point. And the fact that they're really pushing to get this going here, I'm hoping that this gets off the ground. And I think it'll be really, really incredible to see what a Critic TV show would be like in 2025 or 2026, wherever. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm very looking forward to seeing. I hope it gets made, man, because this has been something I've been wanting to see for a long, long time now, and hopefully this actually comes to fruition. And it's probably a good time for me to start reposting those reviews I did just last year for the 30th anniversary. I did a lot of reviews on the YouTube channel, and I might have to go ahead and start putting those together in a compilation. Maybe I'll put that out later today, or perhaps tomorrow. But yeah, that's something I'm definitely gonna have to get working on there. But excuse me, I burped there for a second, but can't burp as well as Jay Sherman does. But with that said, to tie it back into The Critic in general here, I'm hoping this gets made, man. I think this is something that can and should work in the entertainment world that we live in, man. This is such a really, really good show. It definitely deserves to be brought back, and honestly, I can't wait to see if it actually gets done. Hopefully it will, but we'll wait to see what happens there. So let's go ahead and move on to our next story. So this is one of the biggest stories that broke this week that you probably have not heard of, but when one of the biggest film festivals in the world moves from its longtime home to a completely different location, I mean, it's kind of hard not to get a little bit intrigued on this whole thing. The Sundance Film Festival is moving from Park City, Utah to Boulder, Colorado. This was announced on on Thursday, and I got the story right here. This is from the Associated Press. It says, after a year-long search, the Sundance Film Festival announced Thursday that its new home will be Boulder, Colorado, keeping Sundance in the mountains, but moving it out of Park City, Utah, the ski town that has, for decades, provided the premium independent film gathering its picturesque snowy backdrop. Organizers say that after 40 years in the mountains, the festival has outgrown Park City and lacked the necessary theaters and affordable housing to continue hosting what had become one of North America's most sprawling movie events. Sundance had narrowed the options down to Salt Lake City, with a smaller presence in Park City, Cincinnati, and Boulder. Boulder emerged as their choice due to its close proximity to nature, its small-town charm, and an engaged community that organizers say provides Sundance the ideal setting for its future. Boulder is a tech town, it's a college town, it's an arts town, and it's a mountain town, Amanda Kelso, acting chief executive of the Sundance Institute, said in an interview Thursday from Boulder. At 100,000 people, a larger town than Park City, it gives us the space to expand. Kelso, Sundance Institute board chair Ebbs Burnau, and Eugene Hernandez, director of the festival and head of programming, spoke shortly before announcing the festival's move. Local officials who helped lure Sundance with $34 million in tax credits over 10 years applauded the decision. Here in our state, we celebrate the arts and film industry as a key economic driver, job creator, and important contributor to our thriving culture, Colorado Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat, said in a statement. Utah Governor Spencer Cox, a Republican, said Thursday that Sundance will come to regret leaving Utah. As I said from the beginning, we wanted Sundance to stay. We made that clear to their leadership and put together a highly competitive package. Ultimately, the decision is theirs to make, but I believe it's a mistake, and that one day they'll realize they left behind not just a place, but their heritage. And the founder of Sundance, Robert Redford, had some statements of his own, and he endorsed the move from Park City to Boulder. As he says here, where is that? That's at the bottom here, okay. But if you don't know, the Sundance Institute was founded in 1981 by Robert Redford, who sought a location far from Hollywood to foster independent voices in film. In 1984, the Institute took over the Sundance Film Festival, but the nonprofit's mission of helping young filmmakers grow through labs and workshops, Redford's real passion, continued year-round away from the festival. The 88-year-old Redford, who attended the University of Colorado in Boulder, in his youth gave the movie his blessing. Words cannot express the sincere gratitude I have for Park City, the state of Utah, and all those in the Utah community that have helped to build the organization, Redford said. What we've created is remarkably special and defining. As change is inevitable, we must always evolve and grow, which has been at the core of our survival. So yeah, it makes sense why they want to move this whole thing, and it says that there's going to be one more Sundance Film Festival in Park City this January, and then after that they'll move to Boulder. But it's a pretty big deal for something that's been an institution in one area to be taken away from you and moving somewhere else. But I mean, this is a place where this is a very important film festival, because a lot of people don't realize it. It's like they don't put it together that we wouldn't have people like Steven Soderbergh, Ryan Coogler, Quentin Tarantino, a lot of these great movies that came out of the Sundance Film Festival, and it's a pretty big deal when it's moving somewhere else. And as long as they continue that tradition, they could pretty much put it anywhere and it would still be pretty good. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how this whole thing came to fruition, and hopefully nothing really changes from it. I think that the people that are running this are very smart to know not to mess with success overall, and hopefully they know what they're doing with this whole thing. So it'll be very interesting to see how this one pans out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next news story we have here. So it was announced this week that After Midnight, which had been airing on CBS after The Late Show with Stephen Colbert for the last 2 seasons, will not be returning next year. And this was basically a decision made by its host, Taylor Tomlinson, as I've got the story here from The Hollywood Reporter, and it says here that CBS is once again changing its late night lineup, or rather trimming it. The network announced Wednesday that it will wind down its 12:35 a.m. show After Midnight later this year after 2 seasons, despite a recent renewal for a 3rd season. Host Taylor Tomlinson decided to return her focus to her stand-up comedy and touring. The final episodes are scheduled to air in June. CBS says it won't replace After Midnight with new programming in its 12:35 slot next season. Whether the network keeps that hour or returns it to local stations hasn't been determined yet. Hosting After Midnight has genuinely been the experience of a lifetime, and I'll be forever grateful for the opportunity to be part of this incredible journey. Though it was an extremely tough decision, I knew I had to return to my first passion and return to stand-up touring full-time, Tomlinson said in a statement. I appreciate CBS, executive producer Stephen Colbert, the producers, and the entire After Midnight staff and crew for all their love, support, and unforgettable memories. Adding Colbert, I want to thank CBS for their constant support and invaluable partnership on After Midnight, and the whole staff for their amazing dedication. While we were excited and grateful for our third season to start in the fall, we respect Taylor's decision to return to stand-up full-time. It's a shame, because I really was liking this show, but unfortunately, kind of like how I predicted it at the end of the 50 Years of the Tonight Show documentary I did over on the main channel, we might be seeing the very end of late-night television beginning to take its course, because, late-night TV is not as formidable as a viable rating system, viable ratings juggernaut as it used to be back in the day. Like, we don't have a late-night host on the level of a Johnny Carson or a David Letterman or a Conan O'Brien or a Craig Ferguson. We have good late night hosts who know how to entertain and keep audiences coming into it, but we don't have any real rising stand-up comedians that could eventually take their places whenever they all eventually decide to leave. So we are literally probably looking at the dying breed of late night television, because this might be the start of things to come here in general, because we've got Jimmy Kimmel, who supposedly is going to leave sooner over the next couple of years or so, because he's been talking about it for so long. And I think he even said as of recently that he wasn't planning on signing a new contract, because he is wanting to leave it after his current contract ends in 2026. So if I read that correctly, I could be wrong on that front. And he may have said that, but then he may have decided, I might stick around. Why not? But then you have Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, and John Oliver, and them all pretty much going through 2028 with their current contract extensions. I think they've all pretty much signed for the next couple of years, but really, there's nobody else that can really come in and take over these roles in general. I think that's why they've been holding off on naming a permanent host of The Daily Show, honestly, because nobody else has been able to really fill that void in general to be a permanent host. And the format they're working with right now, having Jon Stewart coming in on Mondays and then having the rest of the crew, the news team on separate days, that's been working very well for them over the last couple of years. So if it ain't broke, why fix it? And yeah, just the fact that CBS is willing to give up that prime real estate in any other year, they would have already been looking for their next replacement host for that, but not anymore. Late night, I don't think really is viable anymore. We probably are in the twilight of the end of the late night circuit as it is. Like, we could be honestly seeing the very end of late night as we know it. And it's hard to believe it starts off with this with After Midnight ending. And I don't know. It's just something to keep a close ear on for the next couple of weeks, months, and next couple of years, because yeah, we could be hearing more about potentially people going and leaving after a certain number of years there. But again, we just have to wait to see what happens. But yeah, it's a shame After Midnight's leaving, because I really was liking that show. I liked the original At Midnight with Chris Hardwick, and seeing that come back, and I thought it was a good companion to Stephen Colbert. And Taylor Tomlinson's very funny, so I'm really glad to see that she really got a chance to shine with a lot of people. It's a shame the show's not going, but I get why they're doing it. I get why she wants to move on and do something else. And hopefully she has a lot of good success in her next project, because I'm definitely going to be checking it out no matter what. So those are all the major news stories this week, but I want to wrap this up this week talking about somebody who has been a huge part of our lives, and we got some unfortunate news about his future going forward here. So earlier this week, we got some unfortunate news about a very well-known artist in the world of movies and television, and that is, unfortunately, we got some bad news about Drew Struzan. Now, if you don't know who Drew Struzan is, you may not know who this person is, but you have definitely seen his works before. He's done a number of classic movie posters for various movies and television shows, specifically movies like most notably the Star Wars posters, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, just so many classic movie posters. And unfortunately, we got some sad news from Drew's wife this week, Dylan Struzan, and I've got the story here. The post here from Facebook. There's a couple of them which I'll go through this as quickly as I can, but it starts off by saying, "Good morning all, I'm Drew's wife, Dylan Struzan. I come to you with a heavy heart. Several years ago, Drew was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. As you may know, the early stages are a slow progression of forgetfulness. This happens in the brain when the proteins in the neurons begin to fold improperly. They are called toe tangles. Neurotransmitters can no longer transmit a thought. Think of it as a logjam. Forgetfulness is often what we think of when this disease is mentioned, the brain malfunctioning. As the disease progresses, the hippocampus seat of memory begins to fail. Think of all the things you've learned through life, simple things like how to stand, balance, how to walk, how to talk, and how to control your bodily functions, how to make decisions, how to do most everything we do. The hippocampus forgets. It has been said that this is the most vulnerable organ in the body. I can believe it. Some doctors believe the disease is reversible. For years, Drew and I have used the protocols that are supposed to, at the very least, arrest the forward momentum of the disease to no avail. His body has continued to decline. He is still in there, as they say. It seems that specialized brains have an advantage as their knowledge is part of the structure of the brain, not just an add-on stored in the brain. Nevertheless, the loss of coordination are moving the information from the brain to a functional expression shortchanges abilities. Drew can no longer pay or sign things for you. He is not enjoying a well-deserved retirement, but rather fighting for his life. He hears all the comments you have left here on these pages. It encourages him. At first he was able to express his thought, but as time progressed, it became infinitely more difficult. I rely on our 60 years of marriage working as a team to remember for him. John, who posts many things here, relies on research in the many hours of interviews, both written and filmed, to fill in Drew's thoughts. Drew has left a strong legacy of love and joy in the form of his work. It has always been a love letter of sorts. His aim was to make the earth a better place in which to live by creating something beautiful, but like a flower, his season is ending. I and John will continue to curate Drew's legacy. My vision here is to bring the creative community to the fore. That's what our live streaming and videos are about. Many creatives sharing their craft with an insider vision of the job Drew was a master at. Let me rephrase that again. Many creatives sharing their craft with an insider vision of the job Drew was a master at juggling. I hope you spread the word that will help others enjoy true creativity. They call this the humanities because it is something unique to our species. Art is meant to be enjoyed. Drew always wanted his work to be uplifting. From your comments, I believe he has succeeded. It was always his mission to move art forward, being deeply influenced by the great artist and his professor at the Art Center, Lorser Feidelstein, Feitelson. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Who introduced him to modernism, a period of artistic and literary experimentation that began in the 19th century. It sought to create new ways of expressing ideas. Drew was also influenced by the Impressionists, as you most likely seen above all in his art, the vibrance of color. His drawing skill was informed by the likes of Michelangelo and Pontormo, and those in the Italian Renaissance. Composition will always be foundational for Cezanne. The love you send is received with appreciation and often tears of joy. Those of you who have been touched by his work are his legacy. Please keep sharing your thoughts and experiences. It keeps him smiling through these difficult days. Keep remembering for him. And then just a couple days later, there was another update from her. And it says here, this was on March 28th. Thanks for the memories. I have been reading your comments into the wee hours of the night and started again in the early morning. Drew and I are touched by the kindness and love you express. As a writer, I am particularly struck by your expressions of the associations of how the posters contributed to your love of film. It has given me a new perspective on the value of real art. Some of you have seen Drew blended culture with pop culture. This was the result of being classically trained but finding work money to provide for his family in pop culture. By the way, I found the demarcation between illustration as not art, but personal works as fine art, a ridiculous insult. Be that as it may, I never considered the idea that his posters would foster a love of cinema, but you are absolutely right. And we loved cinema long before he put his talents to work for the film industry. One night a week, the drive-in, the Gilmore 3 blocks away, charged $1 a card to watch double features. We had an old Falcon station wagon. Christian was tiny. He put his toys, blankets, and bed in the folded-down back, a virtual playground, grabbed our treats, couldn't afford the concession stand, and watched whatever was playing. Instant love. Thanks for bringing that thought around. And thank you for contributing your thoughts and experiences with Drew's work It truly touches our hearts to hear these expressions. Drew was overwhelmed by the realization when he was able to do the cons. Up until then, he was genuinely solitarily working in his studio. So yeah, there's some really great stuff in there from Drew's wife Dylan, and Drew Struzan is somebody that it's someone like me who's, I mean, I love movies. I love a lot of movies, and when I go back and look at those old posters of some of my favorite movies of all time, it's not hard. It's so easy to just go and look at the works of Drew Struzan and realize how special this guy really is as a poster creator, because man, he has created some legendary posters in his career, in his life. Like, he's created some memorable posters that are still very much etched in our memory banks even to this very day. No matter what it is, it could be the Indiana Jones movies, the Star Wars movies, the Back to the Future films. He's also done a lot of classic movies for posters for movies that weren't that great, like We're Back, a Dinosaur Story, or Stay Tuned had a great one done by him. Like, I'm looking at a picture of all these. I'm looking at IMDb Awards pages of the Drew Struzan posters he did. And there's a ton of posters on here. I don't even think this is the complete list, but just so many classic posters on here that are just so incredible to look at. And I think there actually is a book out there that features all of Drew Struzan's poster designs here. If I can find it at a good price, I want to get my hands on it, but they're worth checking out. I mean, these are such incredible posters to take a look at and just really engulf yourself in the amazing abilities of what this guy was able to do with the way that he was drawing these posters. And they're all incredible works of art, honestly. I mean, like one of my favorite underrated ones is the one he did for the DuckTales movie, which, I mean, it's a DuckTales movie. You're not expecting to get... Disney probably was not expecting this to be on the same wavelength as something like, The Little Mermaid was. That is the summer before that. But just the fact that the guy put so much effort into that poster, and just the way that it looks, how impressive that looks. I'm so glad I have a DVD with that as the cover of it, because that's a great poster that I always love to have a copy of. I have a copy of it as a regular poster in this little poster book I bought whenever COVID happened. I was grabbing some posters off of eBay, and I was able to find that one on there for a real good price. And yeah, it's just incredible stuff to look at. I mean, taking a look at all these posters again, it's just like, this guy played a massive part of my life in terms of like my love of movies and all that, because he really does. These designs really do help elevate the movie loving experience. I mean, these are just posters that you see before you actually go into the theater, but this is the guy that makes posters look like an event with the way that he draws these, and it's just incredible stuff to look at. And I can't recommend this guy's stuff enough. If you can, go on to IMDb Awards and look up designers and look up artists, and then you can find Drew Struzan's work on there. It's definitely worth checking out. Or if you can find that book that I was talking about before. Let me see if I can find the title of it, because I've seen it before. I should have bought it beforehand, but I just never really got... I didn't buy it because I think it was a little too expensive for me, but here we go, right here. The Art of Drew Struzan is what it's called, and it's a book by Amazon. It's available on Amazon for $26.38. Actually, there's two books on here. There's actually one called The Movie Posters of Drew Struzan that I see on eBay, which I think this is a different book altogether, because the one I'm seeing on Amazon also features Harry Potter. And let me see here. When did this one come out? That one, the one on eBay, came out in 2004. When did this one that I'm looking at here come out? Okay. I know this is just dead air here, but I'm trying to find it. The new one's 2010. So yeah, the one that's on Amazon is actually cheaper than the one to get. It's actually cheaper to just go on to Amazon and pick it up there. And it's definitely one you want to check out. I'm definitely going to get my hands on it now, especially now with the possibility that we could be seeing one of the great legends so sadly leaving us soon. But yeah, Drew Struzan, man, I mean, there's nothing more you could say about this guy's great works that hasn't already been said already. He's just such a terrific designer, a terrific guy. Like, you know, you could tell that whenever you watch him in these interviews and all that, like, his passion for putting these posters together, they're just impressively handled. They're just so impressively put together, and we don't get guys like this anymore. Nowadays, posters are just taking the stock photos of people, of the stars of the movie, and then that's it. And they're not even doing that. Sometimes it's just AI versions or posters that are clearly have a lot of photoshopping done on them. Like, we don't get this type of stuff anymore. So it's just a great piece of entertainment history that we're looking at here, that I'm looking at here, and you should definitely be looking at too. So I'm hoping for the best for Drew. I hope we're not seeing the end of a great legend here, but yeah, just sad to see what's going on with him, and I hope he gets well soon. You know, a lot of movie people who really love movies can be grateful of his amazing works that he's done, and yeah, just we're hoping for the best for you, Drew, and hopefully your life's not going to end anytime soon, but thank you for the great work. I think a lot of us really do appreciate it. So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this up by taking a look at the recommendations this week. A lot of good stuff coming your way this week. And I wasn't joking either. April is getting off to a really, really good start in terms of big new movies coming out this week. A lot of the best new stuff that came out in the first quarter of the year is making its debut on Blu-ray this week. Dogman's coming out this week. One of Them Days, Keke Palmer and SZA starring in that one. One of the best movies from last year, A Complete Unknown, is coming out. Even fun stuff like Mufasa the Lion King comes out on Blu-ray this week, as well as a Companion. And there's also silly stuff like Flight Risk coming out. And then there's stuff that wasn't that good, like Love Hurts was one of the big disappointments. There's a lot of good catalog stuff coming out. Renfield's getting a 4K release, the Nicolas Cage vampire movie from a couple years ago. Pretty good week of stuff coming your way this week on Blu-ray. Definitely a lot of stuff I can't wait to get my hands on pretty soon. So, but with all that said, that's going to wrap this episode of the Reviewing Network Live up. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the playlist of the last episodes I've done and also the last episode I did. And I'll be back here next Sunday after the long weekend ahead with the Steel City Con coming up this week, and assuming there's going to be a lot of big news stories coming out of CinemaCon, so one would think you're going to see a regular-sized episode of the Reviewing Network Live next week, but who knows? We just have to wait to see how the week pans out. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching and listening here. We post here every Sunday night, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like I said, hit the like button, subscribe, notification button, and I'll see you guys next week. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, we are out.